Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. Today in episode 130, I'm very happy to introduce you to my first-time guest, Eric Wood. He's the creator of the YouTube channel called Paranormal Highway. Eric Wood is on the Paranormal Highway and explores the mysteries of the unknown. Travel down this path with Eric to uncover evidence about Bigfoot, UFOs, and other paranormal phenomena, and learn more about the Mandela effect. Join him on his journey to unlock truths and seek knowledge. To learn more about his amazing journey, please subscribe to his channel and become part of these amazing experiences into the mysterious world of the Paranormal Highway. Just a little bit of background about Eric. In September 13th, 1984, during a hunting trip, the Wood family encountered a Bigfoot. There was a total of 11 people who witnessed the Sasquatch. Then, in July 16th, 2007, Eric's brother and Eric went to Gettysburg, and they saw a reenactment of people dressed in Civil War outfits doing medical care on wounded soldiers. But the kicker is there wasn't a reenactment and nothing on the record that the event ever happened. Did they experience ghost spirits, or did they somehow travel there through a wormhole? To this day, they can't explain it at all. Further, Eric was in the United States Coast Guard until November of 1998, where he was honorably discharged. And in February of 2010, he graduated from the University of Phoenix with his major in business and information technology and networking. Eric, welcome to the Quantum Guide Show. I'm so glad you could make it.
I appreciate to be here.
A few technical difficulties, but we're here and things seem to be rolling fine now.
Well, you can never have a great show without technical difficulties, right? It's just you just roll with the punch, you just go with it, and it'll work out fine. It'll work itself out.
Exactly. So I'm just wondering if you want to start off by giving folks a little bit of your background, or maybe you don't want to. Maybe you want to just jump into what really got you started on this road.
I've been very lucky in a lot of different ways where I'm from a family who always believed in the unknown, UFOs, Bigfoots and all that. I'm one of those people that growing up as a kid, our family, we're hunters. We always go in the mountains and all that. And we've always been taught from day one from my father, my uncles, my aunts who are all up there to respect the forest, respect the woods, respect the animals. And part of those animals was not just bears. They talked about respecting Bigfoot. Bigfoot has always been part of the conversation from day one, to a point where when you're a kid, when you hear Bigfoot and all that, there's no internet back in our day when we're kids and all that. There was a library, but it's not like every day we went to a library when you're 10 years old, 9 years old, So I remember it's kind of funny. My opinion is kind of funny that in a lot of ways, Bigfoot was just as real as deer, bears, lions, and tigers, because we were told to respect all animals until the day I went to school, like talking about Bigfoot, Bigfoot's not real. What do you mean it's not real? Mm-hmm. Everybody else, it was just like a mythical story. To us, it wasn't a mythical story because we were always taught that. And people were like, well, how could you believe that Bigfoot was real? Before I tell them about the encounter, well, it's like, well, how do you believe that Santa Claus was real when you first grew up? I'm probably sure you're heartbroken to hear that Santa Claus was made up. So to us, but our encounter. See, to me, when we had our encounter, to make everybody understand on how we usually do on an average hunting trip, is when we go out to hunt, we do it in a way where we have two groups. Okay, so one group goes on feet and the other group, riding vehicles. Usually it means the older people riding the vehicles because they can't walk as good as the younger people. So we start at a certain time of day where two groups go out. So we have a meetup time where we all meet up and we all come back to the camp. So one group goes out, and the idea is one group goes kind of like into the meadows, because we used to camp on a spot called Poison Meadows up in the Sierra Mountains above Fresno, California, because that's where I'm originally from. I live in Seattle now, but the Sierra Mountains, that's where we go, place called Poison Meadows. So the idea is they go on feet, right? And if the idea is that they'll push the deer out towards the roads where we go up. Now, does that always work? Probably not. But the idea is that's the idea. And of course, we're all both hunting. And then when we meet up, it's kind of a way for the families to make sure everybody's counted for, everybody's there, just in case somebody's missing. We could go out and still look for them right before it gets dark. So on one of these normal camping, hunting days, the same thing. I was in a vehicle and they were on feet because at that time, I was 11 years old. So the teenagers, the 15 to 16-year-olds don't want the 11-year-olds to follow them on foot, because we'll slow them down. But it was a regular day. We're driving. We met them up, and there's like these big, huge rocks where we call it the 3 rocks. It's just where our meetup place is. And we get everybody in a vehicle, and then we drive back to camp. And we're usually at that time probably about, it's hard we never really timed how the distance, but it's probably a good solid 4 to 5 miles from the camp spot where we got to go back to. So we all get in the vehicle and we start driving back. And then I remember this saying for the rest of my life. I remember my Uncle Johnny goes, "What the fuck is that?" Exact words. And everybody what everybody looked. Everybody looked one way. And right there in the woods, right there, this thing was over 7 feet tall. It was like light brown color. And it was on 2 feet. It was the Bigfoot. It was a Sasquatch. It wasn't a bear. I know people will say a bear can stand on 2 feet. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. But when we saw this thing, it had a scream. A bear doesn't have a scream, but the scream is like if you take a high-pitched woman's voice, a high pitch, and you put it through a distortion, like a guitar distortion, kind of like blur, kind of a scream. So it was that scream. And then the Bigfoot started to take off. Now, all the young people, right or wrong, jumped out of the vehicles, including myself. Now, this is a true story. I had a fork in my hand. I didn't have like a weapon where everybody else had a weapon, and they weren't going to use it. They're hunters. They carry rifles with them. And we all got out of the car, get into the woods, start chasing it, and this thing never went back on 4 feet. That's how we also know that it's a Bigfoot, because eventually the bear will go back on 4 feet and take off or attack.
Yeah.
But this thing stayed on 2 feet. And I remember chasing it, and I was like, there was a total of 11 of us, grown-ups and kids, all mixed. So all 11 saw this thing. So it wasn't just one person or 2 people. The whole camp saw this. While we're chasing it, you heard the crackling, you heard it. But then this is the weirdest part. Then suddenly, silence. No more crackling. And there wasn't even like like when you're in the mountains, you hear the sounds of being in the mountains, the bugs. You just hear it. Just naturally, you can naturally hear. It was like all the sound got sucked in. I don't know, because our heart are pounding. We're just like so, I don't know, adrenalized to see this thing, but it was gone. It was just gone. You saw the crackling of the woods. You see the cracks where everybody was running. And then you start looking, there's no more broken branches, no more nothing. It was just gone. Mm-hmm. And we're all like looking on the ground, looking on the side. Now it's starting to get a little dark because we meet up at mid-dusk. Right before it gets dark, because you can't hunt when it gets dark. It's against the law. But then it got dark, so we all decided to go back to camp, and we talk about it. But we did go back like the next day to that exact, it was harder to find that exact same spot where we saw the thing because you're driving, it was mid dusk. We did find the spot where we saw it. We walked down, we saw like the broken branches and stuff up to the point where there's nothing else, so how did it, the question is like, wow, how did it disappear? How did it gone? Now, of course, growing up at the time we were kids, there was no talk of portals, none of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That came later on when you start growing up. But that day we're all in the campground. We're all talking about it. Now, one person named Buck that was sitting in the vehicle, he's a big, larger guy, so he can't really like get out. He said that while we're chasing it, he saw like some lights in the sky. But only one person saw that. Nobody else can verify if he really, we're not saying he didn't see it, but there was a talk that he said he saw a flashing light. Now, I'm not trying to make a comparison that this is related to UFOs and all that, but I'm just saying one person did say they saw a light in the sky and all that. And, we talk about it to this day that we know what we saw. It wasn't a bear. There was more, like I said, there was 11 of us. There wasn't like one person saying, what? I think it was this. No, everybody agreed. We finally got to see a Bigfoot. See, now the grown-ups always told us they have seen Bigfoot before, but we don't know if is it just a story they tell us, at a campfire and all that. But there it was. So, and the funny thing is now the parents were so pissed at us. They were very angry at us. They were angry at us that we saw the Bigfoot. They were angry that almost all the young people got out of the car to go after it. They were angry that this thing could have turned around, kill us. Which they're right. If you think about it, they have good reasons to be angry. But when you're young, and we kind of blame our parents because they're the ones who taught us that you respect them, they respect you, to the point where we weren't really scared.
Yes.
And we should be scared. But when you're taught that if you respect them, they respect you. Now, of course, to this day, we talk about it. And, we have a different kind of perspective in a way. Like, why didn't the thing hurt us? How did it disappear? Then you learn that, well, if you think about it, that's their home, right? They know their home better than us. Kind of like I always say this. I always make this reference before. Like if you put Green Berets, Navy SEALs out in the woods, you ain't gonna find them. They'll sneak up right behind you without you even noticing they're there. Bigfoot's the same way. This is their land. They're trained. So I'm not saying portals aren't real. I can't prove that. So I don't think this thing went into a portal or none of that intervention stuff. I think this thing just knows the wood. It knew where to escape. Then you start learning underground caves. I'm a believer in the underground caves. I think the underground caves is more likely than a portal or anything else, or got taken away with the UFO thing. I don't believe that. I just think this thing knew the woods, and that's why we couldn't find it. Till this day, we always go back to the mountains. Every year we go back to Poison Meadows. We always, even though we're hunting, we're always trying to look out to find the Bigfoot. We never seen them again. But we believe that since this camp spot, we always camp there every year. I mean, this is back in the day, people respected other camper spots. Nobody steals other family spots. So it's a wood family spot. I feel like it was comfortable with us because it knows us, it knows our smell, so it wasn't afraid of us. Because we don't hunt illegally. We follow the rules. We're not savages. And I think the thing knows it. When you grow up, you start thinking about that. I think that's why it maybe showed itself to us. Now, of course, in 1984, there's no camera phones. There's no nobody can afford big ass camcorders to record. So there's none of that. But in our hearts, we know exactly what we saw, and we know it's real. Now, exciting is in a couple of weeks, on August 26th, we're actually going to be camping 3 days up in the Olympic Mountains, where everybody knows that if there are hot spots, I'm not here to verify hot spots are real or not, but the Northwest is supposed to be the number one most hot spots for Bigfoot, and the Olympic Mountain is supposed to be the spot.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna be there for 3 days, starting on August 26th. Me and my 18-year-old son, and we're gonna have cameras.
Fantastic.
We're gonna give it a shot. We're not gonna guarantee, but but we never had an experience like that when we were 11. You wish now you would because you understand more about it. But you know what I mean? But you never know.
Oh, yeah. Now, I want to say something about bears. Now, I live right now in Red Deer, Alberta, but I only moved here 6 years ago. Before that, I lived on the West Coast, on Vancouver Island and a place named called Tumbler Ridge. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Tumbler Ridge was a coal mining town, and they went and built it smack dab on the major migratory route of the grizzly. So we had grizzly bears in our neighborhood all the time. Like, I don't know what they were thinking, So we had a system where the mothers would had a phone. We called it a phone tree, and they would phone and let the other mothers know that the bears were in the backyard and that kind of thing. So I have quite a bit of experience with bears, and I'll tell you, yes, they can go up on 2 feet.
They can.
And they can walk that way, but they don't ever run that way. When they run, they're always down on all fours. The second thing I wanted to say is, having spent a lot of years on Vancouver Island and in the Lower Mainland, it's also Bigfoot territory. A lot of Bigfoot sightings. There's a place also called, what's it called? Harrison Hot Springs. And there's a lot of it. In fact, the sort of the whole theme of the town is Sasquatch, because there's so many Sasquatch sightings. So I agree. I believe Sasquatch is a real thing. I totally believe that. There's so much evidence, but Sasquatch does not move at all like a bear. So people that are constantly saying, "Oh, it must be a bear," no possible way.
No, and it was cool, Karen. But you talk about Vancouver Island. My wife and I go to Vancouver Island every year. We did when we first got married, we did our anniversary. So every year we go to Vancouver, except during the sick years that we weren't allowed to. But we go to Vancouver Island every year. Beautiful, lot of forest on that island.
Sure is. Yeah, it's beautiful. I miss it very much. I miss the ocean very much, but I'm here, and I think this is where I'm meant to be at this time. So that's really exciting. The other thing, so the whole thing is you kids all took off after it without any fear because of the folklore that had been passed down to you from your elders. So why would you be afraid? And probably, I think you're right too, that Bigfoot would be familiar with your family from year after year, because Bigfoots, from what I understand, are fairly stick to their territories. And I think that's also an amazing idea about them having a cave system. But we even have groups of indigenous people in South America who appear to disappear, but they actually are just so good at blending in, and they know their territory so well. So I think that's an awesome experience, and I'm really glad you had it. And I really hope you see Bigfoot again when you go on your next trip. I think that'd be fantastic.
Well, we did a show yesterday called Bigfoot versus Dogman. It was a way to break down both stories. Doing the show, people don't realize, there's 70,000 new species are found every year. And these species just didn't show up one day. They're just there. And the thing is about the Bigfoot, what kind of abilities that a Bigfoot could have? Can a Bigfoot camouflage like within the environment, the trees, the bushes? Because there are a lot of pictures, and there's pictures like they're there, and a lot of people don't look at the pictures and they're like, no, that's just a tree or not. But they don't understand that for their protection, they kind of blend, kind of look like the tree where they're at. And you look at species and animals, all animal species have this ability. So who knows what the ability of a Bigfoot has? And people always say, well, we should have clearer pictures and all that. No, listen, a Bigfoot can smell you. This is what I believe. Everybody has different theories. They know when you're coming. They can smell you from miles away. Dogs, simple dogs got super smells and good eyesight.
Yep.
You don't think a Bigfoot does? They know when you're there. They know how to hide. They know to be seen or not. I believe that the ones that do get caught are probably the younger ones where they're not as experienced as the older Bigfoot Sasquatch, which, we're not experienced as our parents when we were kids. It's it's hard to say the age.
Teens are teens, right?
Teens are teens. They're rebellious.
Yeah.
They're not afraid of anything.
Yeah.
My own kids aren't. I believe that my kids experience one. Yeah, they might feel a little shakiness, but because we talk about it so much in our family, it wouldn't surprise them. Like my daughter says, not I don't believe them or not. If I seen one, I wouldn't be surprised. And that's all you can hope for, that people can be open-minded at least to the possibility of this exist.
Yeah. And do you believe that they're telepathic, Eric?
Yes, I believe that they don't have to, because they don't have like this is just, of course, a belief. They don't have like the language like you and I, how we're talking. When they talk to each other, when my hair like the scream sounds and all that, I just think that's the scream sounds. I think the way they talk is through this.
Yeah,
I think they can do it. Not because there has never been any evidence of any recording sounds of like a language.
Yes,
it's usually just a scream or something, or a knocking sound. Because I believe the way they talk to each other is through this.
Yeah.
Dolphins have that ability.
Yeah. I would agree with you. Now, I myself, as hard to believe as this might be for some people, I have had extensive contact with extraterrestrials. They don't use language at all. It's all psychic, but they are telepathy. But they do use some gesturing, but there's no language. So that leads me to my next question. Do you think there's a UFO ET connection with Bigfoot? Maybe, maybe not. What do you think?
That is the most hardest question in the world, because there are stories that, like I said, one guy in our campsite said he saw a light. But for every story that they say there's a light or orb by a Bigfoot, there's 1,000 that are not. There's out of if you take 1 million stories, there's probably only maybe 1,000 or 5,000 that are connected with the UFO. I believe, this is just my opinion, I believe they're separate. Now, I do believe that with first contact, they are more contact with the Bigfoot versus us.
Yes, because they would be very curious about all forms of life, especially intelligent life, right?
Well, I believe in UFOs. I'm talking about UFOs from outer space. The UFOs are real because unidentified flying object. We're talking about outer space. I believe aliens are real. There's no way we're like the exact only planet that has life on it. There's just no way.
Yeah,
you can fall into a rabbit hole just think how wide the galaxy really is, a never-ending galaxy. And I believe that they come here more of studying our world. And they know, listen, if they got the technology to come here, they know that the human race is shoot down first, ask questions later. That's just a fact. And I believe they can come here without being detected with our machines, because their stuff is way more advanced. And I believe that they know that the Bigfoot, of all animals, right? If you believe in Bigfoot, you know that Bigfoot is the smartest ones of them all. They're king of the top. So they're going to talk to anybody to learn about the land and environment. They would go through Bigfoot, not through us, because humans are not ready yet.
Oh,
even though
I agree.
You and I might be ready, but the people in power, They're not ready yet.
No, they're not. They're not. In fact, they're kind of the opposite to that. I believe that the people that are running the systems are pretty delusional, really, and possibly mentally ill. But that's just my opinion. But I've had contact myself. I'm actually just finishing up a book I've been writing about my experiences. I hope to get published this fall sometime. So, and I don't care if anyone believes me or not. That's not the point. The point is I wanted to share my experience. But I'm wondering, do you mind if we shift gears a little bit and and move over to your experiences at Gettysburg? Because that's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
Now, Gettysburg, people are like, well, you live on the West Coast. Well, there was a time that I took a job up in Maryland, Frederick, Maryland. There's the town's called Frederick, Maryland that I took a job. So guys, I live all around the whole United States. I live, of course, California, Washington, New Jersey, New York, Maryland. If you think about it, I always live on the outskirts of the United States next to an ocean. I never lived in the middle, because I was in the military, Coast Guard military. My wife was from upstate New York. So when I took the job in Maryland, the idea was it was also for my wife to be closer to her family because they live in upstate New York. Now, when I first moved to Frederick, Maryland, my wife wasn't up there yet, because we still had a house, kids in school. So she wasn't going to meet up until the school, when school's out in the summer. So I was living in Maryland. And then my brother, Dr. Wu, he is an archaeologist. He's a college graduate archaeologist from the Washington University. So he took a job at the Smithsonian because I was already in Washington. It was like, not Washington, but Maryland and Washington, they're connected.
Mm-hmm.
DC from Frederick, Maryland on a train is only like 30 minutes, 40 minutes away. So my brother was living with me at the time, and Frederick is not a fun place. I never liked. But what's connected is Pennsylvania, and Gettysburg was only 10, 15 minutes away from Frederick. So we always go to Gettysburg. Just love it there. Don't know why. Don't know it's because the people in town wear the uniforms all year round in their stores. You know what I mean? There's just something magical about Gettysburg, the environment. So we always goes to Gettysburg. Now, we went on a Sunday morning.
The body thrives when it has a mission, and there is no greater mission than to become the change we wish to see in the world. Sometimes, though, we need a little help from consultation and support services. Have you discovered that this world is not what you thought it was? Have recent global events awakened you and leave you feeling unsettled? Do you feel isolated with your not-so-popular newfound beliefs? Would you like to learn to thrive in this new state of awareness? It is a big shock to wake up and find that the old familiar world is gone, and it can be disturbing to go down the various rabbit holes only to find that the information is difficult to digest, and few people are willing to talk openly about it. You are not a conspiracy theorist. You are awakening, and once you find your way through it, there are many blessings on the other side. My name is Karen Holton, and I offer vital services that may be just what you need, and support for your journey into the weird and wonderful. Check out my Awakening Support and Ascension consultation, created to support individuals with their chosen alternative realities and lifestyles, health and recovery, and spiritual adventures. For more details, check out the various vital services found on my website, and be assured that I have found personal success with every category featured. My website is www.KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com. That's KarenHolton, healthcoach.com.
Now, one of the reasons was at the time, I don't smoke, my brother does. All restaurants were banning smoking, except at that time for Pennsylvania. So he wanted to go to a restaurant to smoke. I know it's weird, but so we go to Gettysburg in the morning, went to a restaurant, and then we always like to drive through the battlefields. It's just awesome, and we love Sunday because a lot of people in Maryland go to church. So the idea was a lot less people. We could have the runaround of the field. Well, the one day we're driving there, and we're like, dude, look, they got a reenactment going along. We're like, oh wow, that is awesome, reenactment. Wow, we didn't know they were having a reenactment, but it wasn't one of those reenactments of like, the ones you always see on TV, the news, the battlefields, the North versus the South. This was like tents, medical fields, people with missing arms and legs, and like people with doctors and all that. So like, this is awesome. So we pull up, and we get out of the car, and we're walking in the middle of the field, and this lady in the Civil War outfits, the hat, the outfits that they wear back in that time period. And she comes with a big basket, and she asks, did you bring some for the supper, for the food? Usually when you go eat, I guess during that time, you're supposed to bring something. Like you're supposed to, we didn't know this. She had like a big basket of bread. My brother said it was potatoes, but I said it was bread. So there's a little split memory there. I don't know if that means anything or not, but he said it was potatoes. I said it was bread. I said, no, we made up something. We're playing along like, oh no, we just came from the battlefields. We lost all our food and stuff back there. No problem. And relax by the fire. Have some food. If you need to see a doctor, they're over there in these tents. They're helping out people. We're like, wow. We're like, these people are taking this seriously. Like they're really acting. They were like, wow, this is awesome. My brother and I just going to tents, and we're seeing the bodies like going in there, and there was like also like it was like weird, like a pile of bodies in the back. I guess they're supposed to be dead. Like, wow, that looks real. I mean, you're like, there's a pile of people. There's people with missing arms, and we're like, that is some good like makeup. However they're doing it, it's fantastic. So we're like, and there's one tent that I walked through by, and they had like these big old pots boiling, and I saw a guy like cut hair off of a horse, bringing the horse hair, dumping it in the pot, and they're boiling it. I'm like, wow. I go, so why are you boiling the hair? They go, well, up here in the battles, there's so much battle, we don't have a lot of thread, so we cut horsehair, but the horsehair is too thick, so they boiled it, and they learned from, even though it was a northern camp, some of the doctors were actually the South camp people because they're being captured, because they're all doctors, they're all there to help whoever gets wounded in a way. It's what yeah, on the field you're North versus South, but when you get wounded, they're gonna help. And the South were teaching the North a lot of tricks that we learned that we learned that they're boiling the hair to make it soft, but they also learned that when you boil something, it helps kills the germs. And they learned there's less infection. We never knew that. Like, oh, that is awesome. And then they had this big old fire pot. We're sitting there with some other soldiers just like eating, and they're all dirty. And we're all just like talking. They bring us some like jugs of beer, which it didn't taste like beer, but they're brewing it, so it tastes horrible. But hey, we drunk it. We're like part of it. And while we're sitting there just at this fire, we're talking. I told my brother, like, dude, nobody else is showing up. Where's everybody else here at the reenactment? Everybody's in uniform. We're like, does everybody come in uniforms? So we were just thinking that weird thing. It was just a weird thought. We were like, why is nobody else showing up? But we didn't care. We're just loving it because they're letting us be part of it. It's not like you're sitting on the sidelines, you're sitting down, you're watching it. We're like in the middle of the camp. We're having fire, we're drinking. and soldiers. And you see people coming in with missing arms and legs getting sewed, and then also we saw the special tent for like the officers and stuff. They get the best doctors. We learned. We're like, yeah, if an officer comes, they go in that tent, and all the best doctors go there. So where everybody else, they have to saw off the arms, legs, depending, because when they get shot, when those round bullets hit inside their body, you learn that it's like splattered. It's not like a bullet that can go actually through. They get messed up. But if they can save a foot or arm, it's usually the officers, not the not your typical soldiers. So we're just enjoying it, learning, and then we're looking at our clock like, we've been here about 4 or 5 hours. I think it's we had our fun. We're still tripping out that nobody else showed up, but we just thought it was special. So we get in our car and we take off. And the first thing we noticed that once we took off, it seemed like I don't know how you explain it. Like how like you go into a movie theater, it's like a little dark, and you go outside, everything is a little brighter. It seemed like we got outside of Gettysburg, going back into Maryland, things got brighter. Like, oh, wow. I thought it's going to be dark soon. So we looked at our clock. I looked at my clock. The weird part was we know we were there 4 or 5 hours, but we look at our clock. We're only there for like 45 minutes to an hour. That was the first part. Like, huh? We're like, no way we're there just for an hour. That's just no way, because it just felt so long. We thought, maybe we're just having such a great time that feeling we're part of this reenactment in our regular clothes that, and we went off the rest of the night, doing nothing of it. Now, my brother worked at the Smithsonian. So when we learned something was strange was my brother, I went to work the next day, talk about I went to the reenactment. Nobody really thought of nothing about it. Like, people at my workplace, like, I wish we would have went. I didn't know they were having a reenactment. We would have went. So, but my brother came back and goes, Eric, I got to tell you something. He goes, when I told people up where I work at the Smithsonian that we went to a reenactment, they said, what reenactment? There was no reenactment, because they get notified when there are reenactments, because some of the stuff that they use, the Smithsonian actually donates. They donate some of the stuff. So they know when there's reenactments, because I guess there's an approval process in different states, permits they got to have when they do a reenactment. And then Smithsonian, there's no reenactment. My brother told me, like, they said there was no reenactment. What do you mean there's no reenactment? We were there. There's people dressed up. So we were like researching it, like the internet at the time, and we're like, no, there's nothing scheduled, nothing at all, nothing scheduled. Like, that can't be.
Wow.
That can't be. So we drove back to the town and went to the store, and we were like, oh man, we were talking to some like workers there. So we're just like pretending in a way, like, man, that reenactment yesterday was fun. We didn't tell them why we're asking questions. Like, this one a reenactment. They had a reenactment. We didn't know there was no reenactment. Nobody in the town knew there was like a reenactment. And then we went to like the city council. They have like a city council, like every town has. Go in there, and I know it makes it look stupid, like. And the lady behind the counter, no, there was no reenactment yesterday. There was no permits, nothing, and there's no reenactments coming up.
Wow.
So it was just the weirdest thing, because we asked people, we researched, and it's one of those things that why it's so hard to sit there and tell people how strange it was, because I don't know if you probably heard this before, but it's one thing to believe in ghosts when you think you spot a ghost, you hear a sound, because they're like, it's dark or they're like see-through. But it's hard to believe something is real when it looks too real. It would be like, I'm not really talking to you, I'm talking to a ghost, but I'm looking at you, you're real. It was like that kind of confusion. It's like, there's no way. Everything was just too damn real. Nothing was like you could see through something. Yeah, we had the time loss and that kind of stuff. My brother has a few little split memories that I had there, but it was just too real looking. Like there's no way it could be true. There's just no way. But we never found an explanation. There's nothing.
What are your thoughts? What is your feeling?
The only thing I could think of is we could not walk into where there were like all ghosts in a way, because the amount of energy you would need, because ghosts needs energy to have a full body ghost in front of you. That's like the most energy, most batteries you needed. The only thing I can think of is somehow that's where we start learning about portals. Did we like walk into a portal kind of a time shift?
Mm-hmm.
Because we lost 4 hours of time. Not we didn't go in the future 4 hours. We like lost 4 hours. We know we're there longer. We haven't like somehow stepped into, is it another dimension? That makes more sense than saying these things were all ghosts, because they were just too real. I mean,
so it seemed like maybe a parallel world that was out of sync with our time.
That's what I believe what it was, because there's just no way that mass amount of power can create everybody to look that real. Maybe it is, we don't understand the unknown fully, but that's just my opinion. We had to step into some kind of a portal, either back in time in a way. But the thing is, if it was back in the time, how did they see us? Because we weren't wearing soldier uniforms. I was wearing shorts and stuff. My brother was wearing his shorts. It was a Sunday, but they didn't treat us like these two weirdos. They treat us like we were like regular soldiers. So
I got a theory. Maybe you and your brother were alive in a past life during that time and had that actual experience, and something, I don't know what, there's all kinds of strange things that are natural occurrences on the planet that we can't explain. There's also a lot of technologies that are being tested here, there, and everywhere. Maybe it was something like a reincarnation type thing where you and your brother were actually there at that time, and when you went into the field, I don't know, you hit some anomaly and it threw you back into your past life. I don't know. I know it doesn't make sense. None of this paranormal stuff makes perfect sense, but I'm just wondering what you think about that.
There could be some, I believe there is some truth to that, because you probably know Amber's Parent World. You probably heard of her. Amber's Parent World. She gave me like a private reading behind the scenes with Nona Boss. Nona Boss was there, and she said, she was talking about our past lives. And she said, like, Nona Boss, you have, I think she had like 11 past lives. And she did say, Eric, you have 7 past lives, which is like, wow, 7, And one of those past lives, she said, was during the slave era,
Mm-hmm.
which we know the Gettysburg battles were all to free the slaves. So but at the time when she said that, I never really made that kind of a connection. But like what you just kind of made me put that connection together. Like, she said one of my past lives was in that era. So maybe we did fell into ourselves in a past life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That would I would accept that over we were just lucky that we had all this ghost, because that there's just, you would need maybe a nuclear plant behind to, what I mean, to give that much power to be able to say that ghost is more real looking than that. So I think your theory, there's more true than saying it was all ghost.
Yeah, well, I come in my own I've had a paranormal life, so I've had a lot of weird experiences and a lot of visions. And I had a vision one time. Actually, what happened is this is back, I don't know, in the mid, like around 2005, when wearing military type camouflage pants and stuff like that was all the style. And a friend of mine was military and collected militaria, all kinds of uniforms from the past and stuff. And he gave me a pair of pants to try on from World War II. And when I put the pants on, instantly, I was in a war zone. There was bombs going off. I had a rifle. I was seeing other people, and it just happened like in a flash. And then I was back, and it was like, holy shit. And I think it triggered something
Wow.
in me from a past life experience, because I can't explain it, but it was so real, Eric. Like I was there, and I was a guy, and I was in the military, and I was in the war zone. So it was like World War II. And
isn't that scarier
weird,
when it's that
weird,
real?
so real.
It's just like it's scarier when something is more real looking than something that's like you can see through it. It's one of those like, this cannot be happening.
Yeah. Truth is much stranger than fiction. And I also think that we've been born into what I'm going to call a construct, where what we believe has been very controlled. And I think there's a hell of a lot more that's real than what we've been led to believe. I think a lot of what they call fiction might not even be fiction at all. And I think a lot of what they say is nonfiction might well be fiction. You know what I mean? So I think that there's many more possibilities than what we've been led to believe. And of course, when you believe that stuff, then everyone sort of discredits you and says you're crazy or whatever, you know.
You know, and I think it also comes with age in a way, where you get to a point of your life where like you just don't care what other people think anymore. You know, I get it. When you're younger, you kind of not talk freely because what people think and all that. But when you get older, you do think of it. You know, people always ask, Eric, so is that why you are so much into all this stuff, because of those events? And no, it's not really because of those events. It's something on the inside of you. You know, something is not right.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how, like you said, when you grew up, I always felt growing up, I was out of place.
Yep, me too.
Not that I looked different. I was an athlete. It wasn't like I'm not an athlete. I want to be an athlete. Shit, I was an athlete of the year in 1992 in cross country running. But you always felt there's something more out there. You know, there is something there that you don't understand.
Stuff they're not telling you.
Yeah. It's not watching UFO documentaries and all that, because when you start growing up, you learn most of that people are lying to make money and all that. A lot of that is fake. Super soldiers, give me a break. You know, there's no super soldiers. We're not zooming in on Mars on private wars. You know, but there's something there. We've been visited. Then and you always hear excuses like, because growing up in the mountains, there's always those nights where you can't move. I know there's a word for it, but there's got to be something more. Where why can't you move? Like,
are you talking about sleep? What they call sleep paralysis?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you always hear that, but every time we go in these mountains and these poison metals, I always had that. My brother said he's experienced it. Now this is the weird part too. I'm not calling this paranormal or a weird phenomenon, but there's always seemed like there's some weird connection between my brother and I. And I'll give an example. There's a time when my brother was living in the UK, and I was living in Washington. And I went to a show. I did a show. I had to do it late because I had to go to a doctor because I learned that I just ripped a certain kind of muscle. Somehow, they don't know how it got ripped. My brother, we come to the show. My brother said, "Hey, I got to tell you something. I just hurt myself in the same exact spot." Okay, now that could be luck. But then there's a time when I busted my ankle somehow. I broke my ankle. My brother in the UK had something happen to him on his ankle. Now, I'm not saying that's paranormal, but there's sort of 3-4 times where we're hurting ourselves somehow, an exact same spot, and we were even on the same continent. I was in the United States, he was in the UK, and I'm not saying did I think an alien took me up and do an experiment there? But you hear stories all the time that people
Oh,
get taken and you're losing this memory because how else can you explain the exact same parts of our body? Not the exact same kind of a tear, but his pain was here, his pain was there. When I ripped it, my brother ended up having this new white spot, like a tattoo white in the area where I got hurt, like disappeared.
I'm not surprised at all. I have a similar thing with my daughter. So say she has a bad night and she's got a migraine and she can't sleep. And and I call her up and ask her how she is. She says, "Oh, I couldn't sleep. I had a migraine." I went, "Oh my God, so did I." We have so many, it's like you're linked somehow. So I totally believe it. Now, Eric, before we run out of time, I want you to tell everybody about your show. I want you to tell people when does your show come out? Are you live? Are you pre-recorded?
Well,
What
no,
do you and then
most
also
of my shows are live. I do some. There are some videos on there. Uh, uh, Actually, there's two type of deals. Right now, I'm doing live shows. Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Now, uh, so I used to do 5 days a week, but then I dropped down to 2 days a week. But my one son now is in college, going to college. My other daughter just got a license, so I don't have to drive anybody. So I went back to doing 4 shows a week. When I'm trying now, what I've been trying, I always do different things. So like I used to do shows where I mixed everything in it, UFOs, Bigfoots, everything's mixed. But now lately, I've been doing like UFO Mondays. Everything
Mhm.
on Mondays will be somehow related to UFOs, aliens. And on Tuesdays, I call it Bigfoot Tuesday, where they're related to Bigfoot topics. Tomorrow, Thursday, is my paranormal day. So tomorrow, I'm doing the show Winchester Mystery House versus the White House ghost stories. Then on Friday, could be now Friday is a mix of everything. Like that's the day where my brother Dr. Wu comes on, and I'll come up with a subject and get his archaeology studies behind it. Like tomorrow on this Friday, we're gonna be talking about the Otter Man, the Wendigo, and what does the archaeologist side of it? What do they say about it?
Mhm.
So Fridays can be a mix with Mandela effects. Also can be mixed in it.
Oh yeah, that's a great subject. Mhm.
Well, when I first did this, when I first started my channel, most of the topics at the time were 80% Mandela effects,
Mhm.
but I like to talk about everything. And
Mhm.
then some videos, I'll do some like investigations, like there's some Black Diamond investigations on there and all that. Then now this might sound strange. Anybody on your channel don't know me. I also do a cartoon series.
Yes, I was going to ask you to tell the folks about your
And
part. It's
and
hilarious.
and the idea right now there's a total of 10 episodes. I actually have the next two cartoon side of it already done. I already got the script and voices. I got to put the 11th one all together. There has been a delay since the other one because we don't need to get into surgeries and all that I had to go do. But the idea of the cartoon series is basically just starts out where me and my buddy Bigfoot and Non, Connor Flynn, where we're doing a YouTube channel and we're late for a show. We're driving. We get lost on the paranormal highway, and we meet up with the third partner, the Bigfoot. So the Bigfoot joins us. We get abducted by aliens to another ship, and then the adventures just really starts from there. But the core of all episodes is the three: me, my buddy Connor, and the Bigfoot. We're all there somehow in different stories of saving the earth, and each story, what I love about it, in my opinion, is each story has folklore stories. So everything is meant to be different. For like the second one is for whatever reason I wanted to put dinosaurs in it, Jurassic Park dinosaurs in it, and then the aliens are coming to attack, or they need us because we got the codes for these missiles. We're on the third one where there's the moon. There's two missiles on there that goes back from the Star Wars plan that Ronald Reagan had from the 80s. So we
Yes.
take a lot of folklore and mythology because the idea is Ronald Reagan wanted missiles to blow things out of the sky from missiles from others or ships. So I mix it all in. Then the
Oh,
fourth
yeah.
one, I bring King Tut into it. King Tut. He's using the pyramids as an energy because there's a folklore mythology story that the pyramids were either built by aliens or giants, but some people believe it's a power mass. So I use that deal. I use that. Now I mix it with the battery is the Ark of the Covenant, the Ark. So I mix weird things with it for fun, like the Ark. But then once we save the Earth from King Tut, the mermaids join in. They take the Ark and take it back to the lost city of Atlantis. So the next one goes into the lost city of Atlantis mythology. The end of that one goes into where Zeus wakes up, the god of Zeus. and then you know what I mean? So each story has its own thing where we need the devil to help us to get into heaven because Zeus took over heaven. So there's like folklore of us going to heaven to fight Zeus so we can, release all the angels to be released. But then it goes into vampires. Now we have to defeat vampires for God because vampires have no soul, and you can't have an Earth with people with no soul. So what I mean, so a lot of things are mixed stories where we go back in time, and they're meant to be fun. Shoot, in one of my cartoons, I even had the band Kiss in it.
Yes.
If anybody our age knows, there was a Kiss movie called Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. Well, that character in the Phantom of the Park is the one that was leading the behind the scenes. There, he never died. Nobody will understand. They don't see the movie. But the thing is, I take all these storylines and I mix it. Where episode 9 we go back into space because Connor gets kidnapped, and then the 10th one was my personal favorite. Was called Mandela Effect of Madness, where we had to our ship blew up. And we had to go to this planet, but every memory on this planet is related to the Mandela Effect. So you know what I mean? So it was so fun, like putting the Kit Kat Army in there, Nelson Mandela and Ed McMahon, our president and vice president in this multi-world. But if you understand the Mandela Effect, you will understand why Nelson Mandela Effect. So I just take a bunch of folklore stories and I mix it all together. The next one is going to have the famous Devil's Mountain in it that was used in Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yes.
So, and this is the best part, Karen. This is the best part. Most every voice that's in these cartoons are from people that have other YouTube channels.
Yes.
I've got people from the UFO community, the Bigfoot community.
Yeah.
So it's like in a way of getting us all together and just have some fun with some lines, I mean, it's very fast. They're only, they go from 3 minutes to 8 minutes. They're very fast and they're just fun to do. Yeah.
Oh, they're not very easy. Entertaining.
They are. And the hardest part is, of course, to get all these voices. So some of these voices, they record it on their phone, they record me their lines, they send it to me in different ways. So a lot of times when you watch the cartoon, you notice like the voice might not match the mouth, but it is what it is, right? I don't have a professional studio. I get everybody from around the world give me their voices, and they get crazier and crazier, but they're my ways of getting the community together because I don't know why. I always had my main goal was I didn't want to be the channel that's just in for paranormal ghosting, just in UFO. I love it all.
Yeah.
And the cartoon was a way just to get everybody in together, and everybody does it. Always tells me they enjoy it. They love having these lines. And every time I have a list of characters, like, oh, I want to play him. I want to play that. Because in my next one, a little Armageddon's going to be in it. He might have a guest appearance from Bruce Willis, Ben Affleck, Kevin Bacon. So they're just meant to be crazy and fun. But I use real mythology and real stories to make these. So they're made up cartoons, but with the real mythologies that have been put in place by folklore stories.
Oh, they're great fun. So tell people, for those that are listening on the audio, tell people where they can find you.
I have like everybody else. If you go to my YouTube channel, if you go to every episode in the description, it has my Instagrams, my Twitter accounts, my TikToks. Like everybody else, I'm on all those formats. TikToks is I look for not the TikTok is videos of could be ghosts, Bigfoot, and I kind of just put it all there so people get ideas. And I'm not here to tell people what's real or not. Just look at it, have fun with it. They're 1 minute. And Instagram, I haven't really honestly done super much on Instagram lately, but I will get back into it. But I'm always on Twitter. And I also simulcast my shows onto Facebook and D Live. So I'm always there. And anybody who leaves comments, they know everybody knows it. Anybody who leaves comments on my channel and stuff, I always try to do a reply because most of my live shows, I tried somewhere to make it interactive with polls and stuff because I want people to have fun and be involved in a way. Because I think people love it when they're involved. And so you can find me anyway. Just go to one of my YouTube channels, descriptions, all my links are all in there.
Oh, fantastic. So that's the Paranormal Highway. And you're available on, sounds like all platforms. There's going to be
all platforms.
There's going to be quite a few links in the description below this video for those of you who are able to have a look at the description. And this is going to go out audio as well as audio visual all over the place too. So Eric, this has been really, really fascinating. I'm so glad you could make it to the show. I'm so happy you're doing what you're doing and you seem to really enjoy it, which I think is really important.
I have. The only sad thing I would have to say is a lot of people who know me, you might not know this, but my channel in the beginning was called Gypsy Road. So a lot of people still know me as Gypsy Road. So if you go in the chat, you see people say Gypsy Road, that's actually me. But because of complaints, the word gypsy has now I guess it's a bad word now. But I was never using the word as a bad word. So I was actually technically was forced to change the channel name for Gypsy Road and Paranormal Highway because it was, I guess, it was offending a lot of people. So I'm just letting you know, in case a lot of people do show up in the chat and they see the word Gypsy Road, they're talking about me.
Right. Well, that's amazing. So everybody, go over to Eric's channel, Paranormal Highway, subscribe, check out his amazing content. And if you can, join in the live chats while his shows are on and just enjoy. It's such a cornucopia of amazing paranormal information. Eric, do you have any last words before we say goodbye?
No, I appreciate you inviting me on your channel, and I appreciate you letting me tell both stories of, there's some minor ones out there, but those are the main ones, and everybody's welcome. One of the things we always preach on my channel is no opinion is wrong. We accept all opinions, as long as you're not being a jackass type of person. But I accept everybody's opinions because at the end of the day, I always tell people that it's up to you on what you feel like, what is the truth. I'm just giving you my opinion. My channel is about opinions. And I don't force any beliefs onto anybody. And I don't want anybody ever feel like if you disagree with something, that's great. I respect you more when you disagree with something than always agree. So you always have a voice, and every opinion, everything matters to me. So that's about it. And thank you, Karen, for inviting me on your channel.
Oh, my pleasure. I hope you'll come back one day too, because there's actually quite a bit more. I wanted, if you come back, I want to talk about like what's the weirdest show you've ever done and stuff like that.
We could do a whole show on Mandela effects.
Oh yeah, I've had my own experiences with the Mandela effect, so that would be great. So, but for today, that's it for the Quantum Guide Show. I want to thank all the viewers and all the listeners, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have a show. I appreciate and love you all very, very much. I hope you have the best week ever, and I'll see you next week on the Quantum Guide Show. Bye. Until next time, keep up the good work.